I know of 3 boys one time that mocked communion in the church, no of them. And they went up in the hotel room and got some ham sandwiches and a bottle of whiskey and had their communion up there, making fun of the communion they had in a Pentecostal church. Less than 3 months from then, all 3 one of them was dead and 2 was in the insane institution. You can't disrespect God. You've got to respect God. If you don't believe it, just keep still. Keep away from it. Or either do that or come reverently and respect it. Don't make fun of people in the Spirit. Don't talk about people that worshiping in the Spirit of God. Let them alone. I was standing right down the corner preaching some years ago as a boy preacher. And there was a woman came by. She's Catholic of faith, but I know her. Her husband is Catholic. She was nothing. And a very handsome, pretty woman. Nice looking, about 20 years old, 22. I knew her as a girl here in the city. And she came by and stood there and she said, I wouldn't let my pet cow have the religion that William Branham's got. And the next night, before I could get to her, she was dying in the hospital and don't know yet what killed her. She was dying out there in the hospital and her husband came to get me. He said, he was a Catholic. And he come and said, come quickly and say a prayer for my wife. She's been calling for you all evening. She's dying. Well, I said, I will go. And I got in the car and left the meeting and started to the hospital. And I ran up on the steps. I met the nurse and she said, she's already dead. And he said, come say a prayer for her anyhow. I said, she's dead. Said, say a prayer, I won't do any good now. Said, well, come look at her. And I went down. She had that reddish black, I can be called auburn hair. Very pretty woman. Few freckles across her face here with great big brown eyes. And that woman, that nurse said, Billy, she died in such agony until she screamed out your name as loud as she could and said, tell him to forgive me. Till the freckles stood out on her face like warts. And those big eyes that set way out and her eyelids that half closed over. Of course, you know what happens when a person dies, they're both kidney and bowels move. And she was there just steaming all over. And died in such agony. Not because she disrespected me, but she disrespected the gospel that I was preaching, that God was working signs and wonders. Some time ago in New Albany, while I was standing there talking to a sinner, leading him to Christ, a big old rough-headed man in the garage. A man was a friend of mine. His son-in-law run the garage next door. I was standing there preaching at a dinner hour, eating a sandwich and talking to him about God. Through the daytime I'd find somewhere where I'd go at dinner time and try to win a soul to Christ. He said, Mr. Branham, he said, I was just a boy preacher myself. He said, Mr. Branham said, my mother had that kind of religion, that heartfelt religion. And the tears was running down his cheeks. I said, how long she been gone? He said, years. She always prayed for me. I said, the God that heard her prayers is trying to answer them right now for her. And this man walked in there. He said, Elroy's drunk. Said, hey, Billy, listen, said, any time you want to come over my garage, said, you come, but said, don't bring that old holy roller religion of yours over there. I turned and looked at him. I said, anywhere Christ is not welcome, I'll not be. And so he turned around and said, oh, get next to yourself, boy. Now I just heard in my heart a voice say, you reap what you sow. It'd be better for you that a millstone was hanged at your neck and drowned in the depths of the sea. And his own son-in-law that very same afternoon run over him with a 2-ton Chevrolet truck loaded down and mashed him down to the ground. See, you've got to respect God. You've got to God demands respect. And He demands it. Many of you remember up there that night when that man come out on the platform, he thought that there was a mental telepathy of reading the prayer cards. And how he thought he had it right then. Brother, he was sure he had it. You come around, he belonged to a church that don't believe in the gospel, the full gospel. And he come up on the platform. I was tired. He's fixing to take me away at Windsor, the big auditorium. And this man come up there, the gray suit on, a red tie, intelligent looking man, smart as a tack. He comes to the platform, and he walked up and I said, well, just let me have your hand. I said, I'm tired. I've seen so many visions. Let me have your hand. And I never noticed the man. He put his hand over on mine. And I said, sir, there's nothing wrong with you. Go ahead. He said, oh, there he is, too. And I said, let me see. I said, no, sir. There's not one sign. No, sir, you're a healthy man. He said, go look at my prayer card. I said, I don't care what you put on your prayer card. I said, I don't have nothing to do with the prayer card. Not thinking, you see, I was tired, wore out, but the grace of God, you see, was still there. Remember, if He sends you, it's His obligation to take care of you. It ain't mine, it's Him. He sent it. I'm just supposed to stand on what's true. When Moses throwed his stick down, it turned into a serpent, and the magician's done the same thing. What can Moses do but stand there and wait for the grace of God? That's all. Same thing. He followed out the commandments, and you know what happened, don't you? See? This man said, now, he said, there is, look at my prayer card. I said, well, you might have had a lot of faith and might have done it. I'm not thinking, you see. I've done, not even paying attention. Then he unbuttons his coat and pushed out his chest. He said, there you are. And I thought, what's going on here? He looked around, he said, there you are. Said, see the gimmick? That's your Judas. A religious man, a preacher of a great denomination. Said, there you are. I had so much faith. Now, he's got so weak he can't read the telepathy. See? It don't come to him no more. And there, he says, now, my faith was so great. Said, I put that on the prayer card, and now he can't catch it, you see. Said, that's the gimmick. I thought, what's going on? Then the grace of God came down. Amen. Glory. I said, sir, why has the devil put in your heart to try to deceive God? A modern Judas. You're a Church of Christ preacher. You belong to the Church of Christ from over in the United States. And that man sitting up there with that blue suit on, and your wife and his wife sitting there, you sat at a table last night that had a green thing over it, a spread like this, and you made up that this was telepathy. And you were coming to that man raised up, he said, that's the honest truth. God have mercy on me. I said, sir, you put TB and cancer on that card, and now you have it. It's yours now. He grabbed me by the pants leg. He said, I said, I can't help you. Go right ahead. That's up between you and God. You wrote your doom right on your card. You've got to respect God. You've got to do. God demands respect. And He demands it.